So with that, I will turn it over to Wright Frank. Wright Frank is currently the acting chief of the policy group, which has worked to establish BOEM's offshore Office of Renewable Energy Programs. He previously worked in the Office of Renewable Energy Programs as a senior policy advisor and an auction manager for BOEM's first 7 renewable energy leases. He's an attorney who was also in private practice prior to joining BOEM. So with that, I'll turn it over to Wright, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Tony, for that introduction. First of all, no one's saying that I'm on mute, so I must be live here. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mako Regional Ocean Forum session on planning for sustainable ocean economies. We are fortunate to have outstanding speakers with us today to share their thoughts, and we look forward to receiving your input on these and other regional ocean issues. So please put any questions and comments you have in the chat box as we go along, and we will address them following the presentations. I'm going to give a quick overview of the session this morning on planning for sustainable ocean economies, during which we will delve into topics related to the forum goal of collaborative planning in the Mid-Atlantic to support a healthy ocean and an equitable, sustainable ocean economy. The topics we will cover today are related to the forum objectives to identify regional ocean challenges and how climate pressures are impacting ocean ecosystems and economies. Review regional efforts to advance the sustainable ocean economy and a healthy ocean ecosystem, and engage diverse ocean stakeholders to identify issues and opportunities that would benefit from Mako regional coordination and collaboration. We're very pleased to have as our first speaker this morning, Deerin Babb-Brott, who will kick off the session with an overview of Federal Ocean Policy Committee activities and next steps on developing strategies to support sustainable ocean economies. Deerin, we hope you can stay around for the following session and participate in the question and answer with the audience following the panel presentations. We will hear from 2 panels covering related topics as we look toward the future. The first panel will focus on accommodating increased demand for ocean space while sustaining port access and maritime navigation. And the second panel will focus on offshore wind energy transmission, supply chain, port infrastructure, and other support needs. So now it is my pleasure to introduce Deerin Babb-Brott, who will set the stage for the session by giving us an update on the Ocean Policy Committee activities. Mr. Babb-Brott is Executive Director of the Ocean Policy Committee, serving in his 3rd administration, working on ocean issues after 20 plus years in state coastal management in Massachusetts. With that, I will turn it over to you, Deerin.
Great, Wright, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here with you this morning. As Wright and Tony said, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking a little bit about what the Ocean Policy Committee is working on. It has recently completed its 22 work plan, so there are a lot of things in motion. A lot of this is going to be built around the theme of regions, consistent with a lot of the OPC's work over the last 2 administrations. This administration as well is strongly focused on support for ROPs. And as you'll see when we get into the conversation, both at a practical sort of technical level, continuing the focus and support for data and information, trying to build additional resources, and then getting into fun stuff at the end, talking about the national strategy for sustainable ocean economy. So if we could do the next slide, please. No, I don't know. There we go. Thank you. So to start here, I just want to point out the link at the top, which is the more or less new Ocean Policy Committee website. So that's the place to go for readouts on previous meetings, for information on the OPC generally, structure, function, other issues. We're in the process of building that out. If you have thoughts and suggestions for how to improve that and make that more as relevant as possible to what you do and what you care about, please let us know. We want this to be a tool going forward to improve interaction and transparency. So take a look at that, and hopefully that's a helpful tool. So 4 things that I'm going to walk through today: support for regional coastal and ocean management. That's the theme overall. Additional pieces that the OPC will be working on are ocean climate solutions to mitigate and adapt to climate change, ocean science and technology, particularly as we'll talk a little bit about use-inspired and applied S&T to solve the problems in front of us, and then to advance sustainable ocean economies. Next slide. So support for regions. As I said, this has been a real focus of the OPC and a focus of CEQ and OSTP's work for the last several years. And a couple of things here. With the IAJA and the money for regions and for data portals and for capacity, with the ROP authorization in play, which includes authorization for approach, and with just the general tone and approach of the way the administration and the agencies are engaging, there is strong support for the value of regions and for regionally focused work. That doesn't come as a surprise. It continues to be frustrating sometimes. The resources aren't there that sometimes we wish they were in as focused a way as possible as we wish they were. But the general trajectory is strong, right? And this is good stuff, and it's a credit to the work that Marco and your colleague agencies and other regional institutions are doing. So a strong track record of success, of successfully engaging stakeholders, consultation and engagement with tribes, with private sector across the board, with state and federal agencies, right? Working together at the region to do the thing that regions do. So that's moving in a good direction, and that's important to us. The second piece is that the OPC and its work going forward, and remember when I talk about the OPC, we're talking about the interagency, the federal agency family, is to leverage regional experience and practice and work products and put those into, take the good ones and put those into national practice to inform how we all do a better job at this. So we're looking to Marco, we're looking to NROC, we're looking to the West Coast, we're looking to GOMA, we're looking to fishery management councils to provide those examples, and the OPC will be working to elevate those and build those into ongoing agency practice. At the same time, we're going to be continuing the work that we began back under Obama, certainly, but also focused on in the last administration of identifying with regions what their key data needs, decision tool needs are, and working to fill those gaps. So, next slide, please. This is more of a federal side piece, at least initially. We'll be developing a national climate action plan focusing on green shipping, blue carbon, and ocean renewables and the emission reduction capacity. We will be working with agencies under their existing plans and programs, rolling those up and looking to identify, recommend any course corrections or additional actions that may be appropriate. There will be other pieces that will probably fit into this, whether that's coastal resilience, climate ready fisheries, other components. But the point here is to focus specifically on the ocean as a unique environment and a unique source of solutions for impacts of climate change. And this is one of the two real signature sort of standalone products that we'll be working on for this FY. Next slide, please. Applied ocean S&T, and here I'm just going to focus on the last bullet. Particularly from the OSTP side, obviously, is the S&T agency, but there's an OPC commitment to support agency and regional S&T interests, however they're expressed, in this case through Marco, through S&T interests. The OPC is happy to, we are all happy to entertain ad hoc communication from Marco and recommendations or suggestions saying, hey, here are the things that we're working on that are priority issues, and here are a series of, or one or two, S&T issues that we would like some help focusing interagency attention around. We can help do that. Alternatively, or concurrently, that can also be, and we expect that will be a component of work under the national strategy that we'll talk about in a moment. The takeaway is, if there are S&T issues, bring them forward, right? We're not asking you to create things or to create issues, but in the context of management issues that you're addressing, if there are S&T components that you're looking for help advancing because they are a way to address the management needs, talk to us. We'll work with you. Next slide, please. So the national strategy for a sustainable ocean economy. In November, the U.S. joined an international initiative called the High Level Panel for a Sustainable Ocean Economy, joining 14 other nations around the globe representing North and South, developed and undeveloped, just an entire range of socioeconomics, chaired, for example, by Norway and Palau. The purpose of the high-level panel is to foster sustainable economic development of marine areas of national jurisdiction, both individually through the efforts of participating nations and governments, but also collectively through the value of all of those efforts in areas of national jurisdiction rolling up to provide sustainable management of a significant chunk of the globe's ocean. This is not going to be a symposium on the high-level ocean panel, but for additional information, I would direct you to oceanpanel.org for more information. For our purposes, the key commitment to joining the high-level panel is a commitment to develop a national plan to sustainably manage the U.S. EEZ. To guide that plan, the Ocean Policy, which is going to be developed under the auspices of the Ocean Policy Committee through the Ocean Resource Management Subcommittee, we're going to be consulting with tribes. We're going to be collaborating with ocean stakeholders of all stripes, nationally and regionally, and we're going to be working closely with key regional entities like ROPs, FMCs, the IUS regional associations, Blue Cluster, Blue Tech clusters, others, to develop first a national strategy. Right. So we have guidance, as I'll talk about in a moment, from our participation in and collaboration with the high-level panel on what a sustainable ocean economy and a plan dedicated towards that could look like. But we need to put all of that through a national conversation so that we define the terms for ourselves. And that will be the purpose over the course of the spring and the summer of a series of engagement actions that we will do with you to build a national strategy, which then in turn will inform subsequent development of a national sustainable ocean plan. Next slide, please. So actions that the U.S. are taking. So what is a sustainable ocean economy? And what is the national strategy and the subsequent plan made up of? What is it going to do? What are we looking for? So without a lot of definition right now around the chapter and verse, the national strategy is going to identify actions that the U.S. is taking or will take towards achieving sustainable ocean economy. And as I'll come back to, advancing regional interests is going to be something that is a key both definition of what a sustainability and a sustainable ocean plan means, but it's also going to be a key piece of the actions going forward. The sustainable ocean economy in preliminary materials from the high-level panel is organized around themes of ocean health, wealth, knowledge, equity, and finance, and a series of 14 associated outcomes that the participating nations seek to achieve through the development of national plans for their areas of national jurisdiction. I've listed 3 here as an example, so folks have a sense of what this looks like. So for sustainable ocean energy, the desired outcome is framed as ocean-based renewable energy is fast growing and on the path to becoming a leading source of energy for the world. I'm not going to read the other 2 verbatim, but you can see where they go. Right away, through the themes, the outcomes, and just these 3 examples, you can see immediately that there is an obvious way to organize and to rack and stack regional priorities and actions, right? This is not, as I'll talk about in a moment, going to be an exercise in redefining, redeveloping work plans, priorities, regional actions. This is taking advantage of what you have in play, what you are already working on, because you have already defined, as have your other regional colleagues around the country, what sustainable ocean economy means in a very particular vernacular. But what we'll be looking to you to do is to provide us with that information in a collegial, collaborative, stakeholder engaged, tribal consultation, all of those components, but to put that forward and then let us go through the process of organizing those collectively across the country and developing a national strategy that is built on that regional perspective. Next slide, please. So this is just a different way of saying what I started to get into there. The basic question is going to be, for Marco as we go forward, What are the key issues associated with your vision of a sustainable ocean economy? What do you want to accomplish? What do you need to do so, right? Again, we don't need a grand regional visioning session to say, what is a sustainable ocean economy? What are all the different pieces? Through your existence, through your collaborative work across participating governments, participating sectors, you already do this, right? Tell us what those are. So the benefit, the what's in it for Marco statement here is the last bullet, right? By participating in the national strategy, Marco can leverage everything that you're doing, put it up in lights, and highlight and drive needed action to help accomplish your objectives. In my view, that does a couple of things beyond the obvious of providing synergy and 1 + 1 = 27. It also continues what I began with, which is that growing trajectory of support, which is increasingly reflected in things that you care about materially and dollars, right? To get stuff done. This is another way of continuing that and locking that trajectory in and moving towards a system of ocean and coastal management that, yes, is federal, but is also derived from and advances specifically the interests and practices of the regions, right? To me, it's perfect federalism. So I'll stop there. Happy to take questions and have the discussion, right? And again, really appreciate the opportunity to be with you this morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Deerin. Are you going to be able to stay to the end of the panel, or should we get questions to you now?
I'm happy to hang on. Yeah, happy to join.
Great. Well, that should not be an excuse for anyone to sit on their questions. Go ahead and put them in the chat now, and we'll have them queued up for when he's ready, or for when we're doing questions for everyone.